Hello and welcome to our roundup of the European Parliament's plenary session here in Strasbourg. The main debate focused on the outcome of last week's summit. This gave EPP Group Chairman Joseph Daul the opportunity to denounce the British government, who refused to back the agreement on financial policy and fiscal consolidation, which was adopted by the other 26 member states.
During the debate, the heads of the European Council and Commission, Herman Van Rompuy and José Manuel Barroso, presented the outline of the agreement. It is expected to lead the European Union into a new era and strengthen economic coordination. Both expressively said that they wished for an agreement by all member states that would lead to a treaty change and greater integration. However, as the UK's government refused to endorse the proposal, the decision to go ahead with an intergovernmental agreement was the only tangible option.
An intergovernmental treaty was not my first preference, nor that of most of the member states. However, it will make the fiscal compact binding. Our aim is to strengthen both fiscal discipline and economic coordination, going beyond what we have already achieved in the six-pack.
The United Kingdom, in exchange for giving its agreement, asked for a specific protocol on financial services, which, as presented, was a risk to the integrity of the internal market. This made compromise impossible.
EPP Group President Joseph Daul said that by adopting stricter rules, 26 member states out of the 27 had shown their responsibility and willingness to return to a balanced budget and to reduce the public debt. He added that
by deciding on their major economic policies together, by developing emergency mechanisms to be implemented by the ECB, 26 out of the 27 member states have understood that shared sovereignty is better than sovereignty taken hostage by the markets.
Mr. Daul explained that due to the UK's non-commitment to the new agreement, the draft treaty will not be a community project but an intergovernmental one. This presents a number of not only legal but also political problems. With the UK's decision depriving its partners from the solidarity required to move forward, one may wonder why the other 26 member states will continue to show their solidarity and preserve the British rebate from the EU budget.
I believe that the British cheque has to be reconsidered. The funds from our fellow citizens should be used for something else other than rewarding selfish and nationalist attitudes. Solidarity is not a one-way street, neither is it a street where we can only turn left. It's time for Mr. Cameron's coalition government to understand this and to remember their obligations, in particular the rules on financial regulation. Fortunately, the request to be exempt from this was refused.
The financial crisis has had a major impact on every part of our lives, and the EU's defence sector is no exception. This week in Parliament, MEPs adopted a report calling for increased cooperation in the field of defence and urging the Union not to cut its spending budget.
In his report, Polish member Krzysztof Lisek said that even in these turbulent times, the EU's defence budget was not the right area on which to impose cutbacks. Instead, it should be focusing on synergies that would optimise the funds of its members.
The idea of pooling and sharing our functions and resources is a must. It will help us reduce our costs. We must identify as quickly as possible the most promising and strategic projects. They should definitely focus on strategic transport, logistic support, medical systems, maritime supervision, protection of the use of biological and chemical arms in halogens.
The High Commissioner for Foreign Affairs, Catherine Ashton, commended Mr. Lisek's report, expressing her deep understanding and appreciation.
But as indicated by the Honourable Member Mr. Lisek's report, there is no alternative to cooperation in this area. Multinational cooperation must become the rule rather than the exception, in order to preserve and to develop Europe's defence capabilities. As the head of the European Defence Agency, I will continue to make every effort to facilitate cooperation among and between Member States and to increase the global competitiveness and efficiency of the European defence industry.
Indeed, recent events have highlighted the importance of the common foreign and security policy. The Arab Spring immediately called on the External Action Service following its launch in December 2010. In response, the Crisis Management Board and Platform was set up, which went on to help the Ivory Coast, Libya and other North African countries. However, these significant structures could not continue to provide a direct response line if funding was withdrawn.
On Wednesday, the European Parliament awarded 5 members of the Arab Spring with the Sakharov Prize for Freedom of Thought in recognition and support for their commitment to human rights. Although primarily it was the group of the European People's Party who proposed the candidates, they were backed by every political group in the House. This showed Parliament's unanimous support in the fight for freedom, democracy and the end of authoritarian regimes. The event was attended by Egyptian Asma Mahfouz, the 26-year-old who, via a video published on Facebook, encouraged young people to demonstrate in the centre of Cairo. The Libyan Ahmed al-Zubair Ahmed al-Sanusi was also present. He is considered to be the longest-serving political prisoner, having been incarcerated for more than 30 years, accused of conspiracy against Muammar al-Gaddafi's regime. During the ceremony, members of the European Parliament paid tribute to those who had lost their lives in the fight for dignity, such as Tunisian Mohamed Bouazizi, who died after setting himself alight. This act sparked a series of riots and protests against 23 years of rulership by President Zain El Abidine Ben Ali. The ceremony was marked by the absence of 2 of the winners, Rajan Zaitouni, the journalist and lawyer who is fighting to defend human rights in Syria, and her compatriot Ali Farjat, the famous satirical political cartoonist who criticised Bashar al-Assad's regime through his cartoons. Well, that's all for this report and 2011. Thank you very much for watching today and throughout the year. On behalf of the EPP and the rest of the team here, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.